The tragic events of July 27 have brought some long-standing issues into sharp focus. While the facts of the police shooting in the Sami Yatim case remain under investigation and are yet to be determined, the very public nature of this case has also raised important questions about broader issues. These are ideal for an ombudsman investigation. Therefore, in accordance with the Ombudsman Act, I have notified the Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services that I'm launching an investigation into the direction it provides to Ontario Police for de-escalating situations that could result in the use of force. Since this incident was first reported, my staff have conducted a thorough case assessment. We've done a preliminary review of some provincial guidelines and some police practices and training. We've reviewed some similar cases from the past and in other jurisdictions. This has convinced me that a full investigation is warranted. And I have asked my special ombudsman response team to complete it within the next 6 to 12 months. The ministry has the power to set standards for police training or procedures across the province. For example, as was done in British Columbia after the police-involved death of Robert Dekansky. There have also been recommendations from many Ontario coroner's inquest juries into similar deaths over the past 2 decades. What has been done? What should be done? We'll focus on that. Le ministère est en droit d'établir des normes relatives à la formation et aux procédures des forces de police dans la province. Comme ceci s'est fait, par exemple, en Colombie-Britannique, après la mort de Robert Dekansky, impliquant la police. De plus, des recommandations ont été faites dans le cadre de plusieurs enquêtes du coroner de l'Ontario sur des décès similaires au cours des 2 dernières décennies. Qu'est-ce qui a été fait? Qu'est-ce qui devrait être fait? C'est sur cela que nous allons nous concentrer. My office has already received more than 60 complaints, inquiries, and submissions relating to this case from a wide range of concerned citizens and people with expertise and experience in law enforcement and dealing with these types of situations. We're asking anyone who has information relevant to this investigation to contact us confidentially. I want to stress that this investigation will not affect the ongoing criminal investigation being conducted by the Ontario Special Investigations Unit. If issues arise in that investigation that are relevant to problems discussed in my 2 prior SIU formal investigations, I will deal with them in due course. For now, I'm pleased to say that I spoke yesterday with the chair of the Toronto Police Services Board, and he welcomed my investigation. We'll be inviting police services to share information with us relating to this investigation, and I look forward to their voluntary cooperation. Questions?
Ombudsman, it appears that you're being attacked on Twitter by some alias seems to be saying that they're very upset with either this investigation, they're very upset with you. Who do you think is behind this, and why do you think they're attacking you?
Well, we've identified it as a Toronto police detective, sorry, not a Toronto, Durham Regional Police Service detective. You know, emotions run high when you talk about police oversight. Now, in this case, it's a little higher than the normal temperature. Being accused of being a card-carrying member of Al-Qaeda is a little much. But, you know, it's part of the turf. I get these from time to time, and we just have to just put it behind us and move forward.
How are you going to deal with this, though? How will you deal with this?
I don't know. It just happened, as you know, just before the conference today. You know, I really don't know. I can't tell you at this moment. I haven't considered any further steps at this stage.
Why would you tweet his name publicly?
Well, you know, these are pretty serious allegations, and to hide behind an anonymous account to propagate hate tweets is just not right.
Have you gotten other calls or other tweets or other forms of correspondence attacking you for this investigation or attacking you for this particular case?
Yes, but you know, it's par for the course. You know, what we saw on Twitter today is not par for the course. That's beyond you know, what I've normally seen. But you know, it happens. You know, it happens. You know, the cases we do are important work, and sometimes they upset people, and so it happens.
Est-ce que vous prenez ce genre de menaces sur Twitter de façon sérieuse?
Il n'y a pas de doute, c'est une menace qui est sérieuse, mais j'ai pas pensé à ce que j'allais faire là, comme prochaine démarche.
Like, do you feel intimidated as the ombudsman in this case?
You know, I got thick skin. Like I said, it's part of the turf to deal with people who are upset. In this case, it's beyond that. You know, I've dealt with death threats in the last few months. I've dealt with all types of situations, so nothing really surprises me at this stage. But I think that it's quite deplorable for a police officer to tweet this kind of material over the internet. And I would hope for a more informed dialogue.
What were the circumstances of the death threats made against you?
I don't want to get into that, but I mean, it's part of the, you know, it's part of the record, but I don't want to get into this any further.
Do you think regional police, are they going to be taking any action against this officer?
I haven't spoken to them, but I made sure to include them in the Twitter handle, so I would hope that they could take it from here. But I've not decided what, if anything, I would do as my next step.
It was an anonymous Twitter account.
Sir, is it your sense that these threats are related to your interest in the Sami team shooting?
No.
It was an anonymous Twitter account. How did you connect the dots to find this police officer?
I don't want to get into that right now.
But you made the effort. Vous avez fait l'effort de chercher c'était qui?
Oui.
You said that your probe into the team shooting won't affect the SIU investigation, but by launching this probe before that's concluded, isn't that an implicit statement on your part that something went wrong?
The investigation we'll be conducting has nothing to do with the criminality element or the conduct of the subject officer under investigation. We are conducting an investigation as to the systemic response to conflict by police services in Ontario. And in the last week, we've looked at the results of inquests dating back to 1994, almost 20 years. And the recommendations coming out of these inquests are almost carbon copied from each other. Increase police training, increase how police diffuse situations. What's happened to all these recommendations in 20 years? Have they been gathering dust in some bin somewhere? And when you look closer, these police shootings bear remarkable similarity to each other. So after 20 years, are we content to just move along, chug along like we've been doing in the last 20 years? Are we going to look at improving the police response to this? It seems to be like Groundhog Day. Inquest after inquest, police shooting after police shooting. And as Einstein is credited with saying, insanity is repeating the same mistakes and expecting different results. The Ontario government has done this in the past, intervened to set standards. One example is in the late 90s, the provincial government adopted the apprehension pursuit regulation as a result of too many fatal pursuits by the police. And that policy has been effective. But in order for us to do our job properly in this case, we need the full cooperation of police services across Ontario. I'm very happy that the chair of the Toronto Police Service Board has pledged his cooperation, and I hope that the rank and file of Toronto Police will do the same.
Will you be looking at guidelines around tasering as well?
I think right now it's broad enough to include the de-escalation of violence on the scene. So it has no particular emphasis on tasering, but of course tasering is an escalation in the police presence on the scene.
Mr. Mayor, do you know what the direction provided is today from the ministry, the police department? What do they tell them to do?
The Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services, which is the provincial ministry, has no directive to deal with this. In BC, as a result of the Kansky tasering, they do now have in place a policy that police officers must take a one-day course as well as 4 hours online before the course across the province. Now, interestingly enough, this was the recommendation out of the youth shooting in 1997 from the coroner's inquest report. And it took 8 years after Kansky's incident for the BC government to pass this regulation across the province. And I don't think we have 8 years to wait in Ontario after waiting 20 years.
Police are
trained in de-escalation
tactics that have happened in the past. Is this the first time that your office has investigated a police shooting?
We're investigating the provincial government's response to this situation. Yes, it's the first time that we've been involved in this respect.
Police are trained in de-escalation tactics already. They invited all the media to their college last year to see how this training is done. So what difference do you think can be made if the ministry is giving further guidance?
Well, if this is the way we choose to go in the final report, it will provide consistency and uniformity in the application of the rule. Right now, how it happens in Ottawa, London, Hamilton, Toronto are as diverse as there are cities. And after 20 years of experience with coroner's inquest juries, is it time for Ontario to follow in the steps of British Columbia is the question we will be looking at.
Votre enquête diffère du travail de l'unité des enquêtes spéciales?
L'unité des enquêtes spéciales mène une enquête criminelle pour déterminer si c'est le lieu de déposer des accusations criminelles contre un agent de police. Donc, c'est une question très importante, mais très étroite. Nous regardons la question systémique, à savoir si le ministère provincial qui est responsable pour la police devrait émettre des directives au corps policier pour mieux veiller à éviter le conflit dans des situations explosives.
Complaints I've heard from the mental health community is that police officers are trained to control a situation, to bring it completely under control, and that in the case of people who are suffering either a mental health episode or a mental health illness, that may not be the way to sort of de-escalate the situation. Do you have to take a broader look at their training and see if perhaps they need more help knowing how to calm down people who are upset and not necessarily being rational?
You know, I think that will definitely part of what we'll be looking at. The Ontario Police College, as well, is run by the province, and that's where the first training occurs. So, you know, we're going to be looking at de-escalation of conflict right from day one of training, right on to whether or not the province should issue ongoing rules to ensure that they are trained and they are recycled in the best practices. I mean, as a lawyer, I have to every year complete X number of hours of ongoing education to keep my credentials. Is this a type of area where the province wants to do the same thing, to de-escalate conflict and put an end to this repetition, this Groundhog Day repetition of these inquests time and time again?
Va-t-elle porter sur la formation des policiers pour l'atténuation des conflits ou davantage sur l'utilisation de la force, les tasers, etc.?
Je pense que ça va couvrir tous ces domaines-là. C'est la raison pour laquelle je vise de rendre le rapport public d'ici 6 à 12 mois. Donc, c'est une étude qui va être quand même assez approfondie. Le but de l'étude, c'est de voir est-ce que la province devrait s'ingérer dans ce domaine-ci, comme le fait la Colombie-Britannique, et émettre un règlement uniforme à travers la province qui va potentiellement sauver des vies. Thank you very much.